very often, I like to refer to let the line lead the way. A lot of the times these lines, especially totals in baseball, they can kind of tell a story of what a matchup is to be or what a matchup could be expected. Now, the Rangers, they're taking on the Seattle Mariners, and we're looking at a total that is around 6.5. We got DeGrom and Gilbert. Kind of makes sense why you're seeing that low of a total, but these hitting matchups or these hitting lineups have also left a little bit to be desired. So, Marco, this 6.5, it feels low. Is it low for a reason, though?
Oh, it's absolutely low for a reason. And, you forgot the biggest part. It's an American League game at 6.5. We see National League games, that'll put up a number like this, but you don't see it too often in the American League. And, there's a couple things going here. You've got a great pitching matchup with Jacob deGrom and Logan Gilbert. But let's look at the schematics of the game. Let's start with Texas. Texas is playing their 8th consecutive road game. Okay. Yep. So it's a 3-city road trip. They have not had a day off. All right. So this is the 8th consecutive day that they've played. Both teams played yesterday. Both teams have to travel to Seattle. Now, the only difference is Texas played a day game, Seattle played a night game. So you give a slight edge to Texas in that regard, travel-wise. But then we look at the two pitchers, and this is where we separate whether we're looking at the side or we're looking at the total. DeGrom, his first start of the year, he had a rough outing. And you see that a lot of times with quality pitchers, but they come out of spring training, they had limited innings, and they don't do well in their first outing. Look at the last year's National League Cy Young winner, Paul Skeens. He got absolutely bounced in the first inning in his first start. Since then, he's been solid. Well, DeGrom's done the same thing. His last 2 starts, he's allowed just 2 runs over 11 innings. But the buy sign is the fact he had a season high on strikeouts. I'm old school. Strikeouts and walks are one of the most simplest stats to look at. But to me, that tells me if you got control, if you're not walking batters, and if you're striking batters out, you've got your best stuff because you're fooling the hitters. And he had a season high in his last start. So that lends to tell me he's going to have another good outing here. Then let's look at Logan Gilbert. He's pitched back-to-back gems. He's allowed just 3 runs over his last 13 innings, and he's had a 12-to-1 strikeout-to-walk ratio. Again, that tells me he's going to have another good outing. And I, use a horse reference here. I really do look at starting pitchers and look at their box scores and what they've done from start to start. I consider it just like I read the racing form with horses, guys. Horses come in and out of form cycles. Pitchers do the same things, and that's the way I look at them. So I'm expecting a good outing from both. Now, with that said, I got a couple interesting stats that also lends to the under here. Seattle this year, now this line's floating right around this number, maybe a little bit outside it, depending where you're looking at what book, but we see this game anywhere from -125 to -130. In games this season where Seattle has been in the competitive price, and I call that +125 to -125 zone, they've had 9 games in that price range. They're averaging, guys, in those 9 games, 1.9 runs per game, just 1.9. And if you couple that with Logan Gilbert going back to the start of the 2024 season, when he's pitching at home and is installed as a favorite of 150 or less, 12-1 to the under. Low total, as you said, telling a story. I go inside the numbers. I'm confirming that story. There's only one way for me to go tonight. We're taking Texas-Seattle under 6.5 runs.
Yeah, I love the breakdown, letting the line lead the way, and then dive in a bit deeper there. Well, Marco, if folks are interested in a good pitching matchup, that's the game to watch. If you're interested in seeing a guy that just gets absolutely shelled because the Toronto Blue Jays have no one else to put out there because they have no Berrios, no Bieber, no Yasevich, no Ponce. So now we send Eric Lauer and his near 8 ERA to the mound to oppose arguably, outside of the Padres, hottest team in baseball here with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who anytime you think they're dead, a comeback is looming. This one, if the game before is a formulaic under, Marco, this Toronto Blue Jays, Arizona Diamondbacks game, I mean, Diamondbacks could hit 9 runs by themselves in this one. What do you say?
Yeah, sometimes, you just don't overthink things. And this is one of those games where I'm not going to overthink it. Now, I will point out that Arizona's returning home. They just finished up a 3-city East Coast road trip. You know that I generally like to go against teams returning home from a road trip, especially a long road trip, and especially if it's a West Coast team returning from the East Coast or vice versa. Well, obviously, for Arizona, they played the Mets, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. So, that's as East Coast as you can get there. So they're in a negative spot. So right off the bat, if I were going to take a side, I would lean to the Toronto side. But given the form of Eric Lauer, it's kind of hard to grab the Toronto side. I still lean to them, but I'm going to look to the total more. And let's just start with Eric Lauer. My God, this guy is in 3 starts. He's allowed 11 runs in 12 innings of work. His strikeout to walk ratio, where I just told you about some good guys, in his last 2 starts, his strikeout to walk ratio's 8-3. Unfortunately, the 8 is the walks, okay? And it's the 3 is the strikeouts. That is just absolutely horrible. You can't keep putting base runners on. I always say you put base runners on, bad things are going to happen. And now you're going to a hitter-friendly ballpark. It could just really escalate quickly. So why overthink it? Now you're going to say, hey, Toronto was held to 1 run in back-to-back games. Milwaukee had a little different pitching staff than we're going to see here in this matchup. Prior to those 2 games where they were back-to-back scores of 2-1, Toronto had 4 straight overs. And I think that's going to happen again here. Arizona, you want to talk about a little Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde? They've played 12 night games this season. The over in the night games is 8-4. They've played 6 day games. It's 1-5 to the over. So definitely they like scoring runs under the lights. I'm going to go ahead and look at this and take the over here. As I said, I do lean to the Toronto side as well. You might want to put a half unit on Toronto, but I think the better play here is the over. We're seeing 8.5s and 9s. Obviously, you can still grab an 8.5. That's the best way to go. But I like it still over at 9. And the difference in here, when you're looking at betting totals, if you're getting the worst of a half a run, always make sure that the worst of the half a run puts you in a position to push instead of win, instead of a loss on that half a run. The difference between 8.5 and 9, if we're taking, the over, if we don't get there with the 9 and it lands on 9, obviously you push. So that's just one thing to always remember when you're betting totals. If you're missing that half a run, make sure that the worst that can happen to you is a push.
Yeah, and I know that Lauer is obviously the story of the pitching issues here in this game, but I know that Soroka hasn't really faced off against the Blue Jays all that often, only twice since 2019. But in his career, given up over 5 earned runs on average in those starts too. So love the breakdown there, Marco. I'm with you on both of those totals. So let that not be the kiss of death for you. Hopefully that just means we're cashing 2 here tonight. Speaking of cashing, man, what do you got rocking here as we head on into the weekend? NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. I know you're super selective on the ice there as well, and MLB keeps chugging along, Marco. So what are folks going to find over at your page?
Oh, guys, we keep saying super selective, and I am, but now we're into the postseason, and I can be a little more, put a little more volume out simply because I don't have to guess on who's playing or who's taking a night off and so forth. You're getting everybody's best shot every night. And guys, here's the deal. NHL, since 2021, we're number 1 in money won at WagerTalk. In the NBA, since 2020, we're number 2 in money won. So you're getting a 1-2 punch there. And how about baseball? Well, I have been ultra selective to start the season, only 11 plays, but we've cashed 8 of them. So you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to give you 2 offers. Get all of my plays. All right. If you want to go short term and you want the best deal, buy 3 days, get 3 days free. 3-day package is $69. You're going to get a bonus 3 days. That gets you 6 days total for $69. All sports, all plays. You want an even better deal? We're running a deal where you can get everything in every sport, any extra I have in talking, what are those like extras that I might have? Well, it's going to be all those horse races. It's going to be the Triple Crown races. It's going to be the big races this summer. The Jim Dandy, the Haskell, the Pacific Classic. It doesn't end with the Triple Crown. You're going to get every play I give my clients throughout the summer up to the end of August as we get ready to kick off football season. That's just $749 for everything. That's the best way to go, guys, if you want to lock in everything for the entire stretch of the dog days of summer in the NHL and NBA playoffs, and, of course, baseball as well. So take short term or go long term. Either way, hope you climb aboard. We're running hot right now, and I'd love to have you aboard.